Welcome to AstroChat with Anne Sundell, Kimberly Williams, and Monica Anna. We are three professional astrologers living in three separate countries, coming together every new and full moon to share our 3 points of view on astrology. Whether you enjoy deep dives into the current transits or you are just beginning to learn about astrology for the first time, there is a place for you here. All that is required is an appreciation for astrology, along with a respect for the various traditions within it. So grab a mug of coffee, your favorite cup of tea, or any other beverage of your choice, and join us for a chat on the astrology of the next 2 weeks. Hi, everybody. Hello there. Welcome back to another Astro Chat. Today it's Anne Sundell and myself. Monica is MIA today, but will hopefully be back with us in 2 weeks. So, hey, Monica, thinking about you. We're going to be looking at the new moon in Taurus, which is happening on May 19th. It is at 10:53 in the morning here in Central Time Zone of the U.S. And across the pond, that's going to make it in the afternoon, 4:53 in the UK and 6:53 p.m. over in Finland. So wherever you live, do your calculations and figure it out. We're going to have the new moon at 28 degrees, 25 minutes of Taurus. It's an exciting chart. We're looking forward to going into it. Some tidbits of things you might want to know. We probably are not going to talk a lot about Venus today, but she will be going retrograde this summer. So don't worry, there's lots of conversation to come in forthcoming episodes. Saturn in Pisces, we talked about, I think it was 2 weeks ago. 2 episodes ago. We talked about the ingress of Saturn into Pisces. So that energy is still happening. And if Pisces energy, if that house in your chart is something of great importance for you, you have a lot of planetary placements, you might want to go back and re-listen to that. So we're still dreaming the big dream and figuring out how to create it there. And I think you have some exciting news about things that are happening over in your astrology world. You want to share?
Yeah, thanks. We are having our first graduations from our school. So the pupils that started 2020 are now graduating this year, and we're very excited about that. So we made it with the three-year program, and we're still getting like new pupils for the autumn for the next year. So it's really great. We're really happy.
That is so exciting. Congratulations to all of your graduates. That's a long commitment. That's a long time. I'm sure it's going to be exciting for you and them to have the first graduating class.
Yeah, it's exciting for everyone.
So, are you now taking enrolling people, new students for the fall? Has that begun?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, it has begun. Yeah.
And then, don't you do a cool summer camp as well?
Yeah, we have a summer camp in Finland that's been for a quite long time. At the same place, in a place called Kreivila, and it's gonna also be this year, happening in July. So yeah, it's really cool happenings. I hope that we're gonna be able to meet some other astrological interested people also and network with them. So
how exciting to be able to do it in person again, right? That's fabulous. Yeah. Well, good for you. Sounds like a lot is happening. And of course, as always, guys, check out Anne's link, either in our bios or over on the Instagram pages. Learn more about what she and her school are doing. Over in my world, I'm going to be relaunching a beginner series that I had done some time ago. So I'm in the process now of redoing the videos and the handouts and revising it, updating it, getting ready. And that's going to be done via Zoom. So I'm looking forward to getting some new people on the path to astrology and maybe some older faces coming back to the path of astrology. It's always exciting to get ready for the launch of the new season, new year, new classes getting into that getting ready for school vibe. I love it.
That sounds really cool. And you picked a good time when it's retrograde Mercury to go through old stuff and revise them. So
Yeah. For once, the astrologer is following her own advice, right? Yeah. How good is that? All right. Well, before we launch into the actual chart, why don't you start us off with the Sabian symbol that we were just discussing? I love it. It's fabulous.
Yeah, and today we have the Sabian symbol for Taurus 29, and it's two cobblers working at a table. So it's about the two-folded character of man's mature understanding. The two cobblers symbolize two contrasting ways of approaching understanding of experience. And I think that this symbol is quite interesting when we think about the past few weeks when we had Mercury retrograding. We had a lot of planets in Aries that have ingressed now to Taurus. So we're kind of switching from one type of understanding to another one. So these Sabian symbols are so deep, and you can just think about them and analyze them like for a long time.
Yes, yes. I have actually started, thanks to you and your inspiration, I have started with Solar Fire having the Sabian symbol pop up every morning for me, and just getting used to seeing it. And it's amazing how when you start to meditate on or contemplate these ideas, you can just really fall in and the things that come forward. And with this one, what I kept thinking was, and I don't remember what card it is in the tarot deck. If anyone else knows, put it in the comments below. But in the suit of Pentacles, there's one of the cards that is really about, the person developing their skill, laboring, having to do that, I use the Mythic Tarot as one of the many decks that I like to use. And in that one, it literally shows somebody at a table doing leather working, like that idea of the old time trades, the old arts that you learned from apprentice to master. It just to me feels so Taurian. I love it. So I think this is a great image to work with, especially as we have so much Taurus energy in this particular new moon.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk about a new moon in Taurus, and then we'll pull up the chart. So new moon, of course, just to recap, new moon energy. I really like following Dane Rudyard and Stephen Forrest and Amy. I can't think of her last name now. Darn it. Sorry. I'm drawing a blank, but like the authors who talk about the lunation cycle. Love that. And to me, that new moon is sort of the very between the worlds kind of place where I'm not really here. I need to rest. I need some downtime. I need to, a lot of the witchy folk that I know talk about this as the dark of the moon, that idea of I'm not really physically present. And I am physically present. We're bringing forward, we're downloading something from our unconscious into our conscious being, from the other side forward. We're bringing that in. So keep that in mind, I guess, guys, while we're talking about all this Taurus energy, because to me, it's like everything is being seeded on a new moon. And that's kind of what we see happening. There's a lot of seeds being planted here. So for Taurus moons in general, especially on the new moon, whenever I think about the moon in Taurus, well, the first thing is I have to smile because she's exalted in Taurus, right? It's her favorite. It's the easiest sign for her to be in. And it's where she can vibrate to her highest potential, her highest calling, her highest vibration. So it is a great time for really planting the seeds of what it is I want to grow on this material plane, having that kind of visioning. I also think about the moon, as everybody knows, if you've heard me talk repeatedly, this is our body. So, and Taurus is the most earthy of the earth signs for me. It is literally about embodiment, feeling it within your skin, the blood rushing through your veins and through your arteries. Like, this is, I am the universe. I am the energy of all the planets. It's so juicy. In fact, every year during the sun's transit through Taurus, at some point, I usually get a lot of fruit and vegetables and build a like image of the divine and then eat it and take it in. It's that whole idea of, physical embodiment of the spiritual. So those are the two things that I always think about first when I think about Taurus. But Taurus, it is the most earthy of the earth signs for me. And earth signs are very practical, right? Taurus is the job of seeing things through. Aries start things up. We might have other mutable signs that want to wrap things up or change things or get it going. But Taurus is let's see it through. Whatever it is that we started in Aries, we now need to continue. We now need to keep it going. So a lot of times the image that I hear people talk about with Taurus is sort of the ox or the bull that's been tied to the plow and we're going forward. And, if you've ever tried to garden in rocky, hard, dense soil, yes, anyone in Texas can relate, and I'm sure other parts of the world as well. It's hard work. It's backbreaking. It's hard work. But that's the energy of Taurus, is we keep on keeping on. We keep on going. We see things through. And so there's a determination. That fixity brings a strength of being able to have the resolve that no matter how hard something is or how long it takes, we keep on going. And then, of course, the challenge to me with that is, can we become overly fixated? Taurus and Scorpio, sharing that axis of polarity, to me are the two signs that can get really caught up with blinder syndrome. I've got blinders on. I'm looking at the path ahead, but now I'm so committed to this path, I don't know when it's actually time to stop. That's why we need to have, the Gemini energy come in after Taurus to remind us that sometimes change is necessary, or maybe it's time to jump ship and do something else, or maybe we've actually finished the job, we've graduated, and now it's time to step into what is new. So, I totally understand the challenges, but I think there's such strength, there's such joy, there's such beauty with the sign of Taurus. And the last thing I'll say in my long babbling here about Taurus, and then I'll pause so I can hear your thoughts, is there's a lovely children's book called Ferdinand the Bull. And to me, it exemplifies this energy of Taurus that, Ferdinand didn't want to be like the regular bulls. He did not want to run and be in the bull ring and do all of the charge forward bit. He wanted to sit and smell the flowers and relax and be one with nature, very Earth Day kind of energy. And then he gets stung by a bee and then he can take off. He can charge forward. And with that charging, right, we can see all of that. Now there's that need to move forward. So I think we often talk about Taurus as, bullheaded or seeing red, and those kind of things sure can happen. But I don't see that as the majority of the time. Those are more, I think, in response to the challenges, the pressures that stop one from being able to stay steady, stay strong, and see things through. What hits you when we say, the moon is in Taurus?
I think I'm a bit biased when I've been grown up with the moon in Taurus, and also a lot of Tauruses, maybe in a good and bad way. But still, when you talk about planting the soil, that Aries is doing, and then sustainability and continuing, then I also think about like this Taurus stellium, like a time to pick which things we want to continue to nurture right now. Of all those things that Aries throws out, then which ones do we really want to commit to? Because that's like, I see Taurus like the stabilizer, and really also I relate Taurus moon with comfort and with stability and maintaining the status quo. But we still got Uranus in that pack, so we're not going to be able to do it. Sorry, all Tauruses, even you would like life to be the same routine, it's not going to happen with Uranus. We still have some work to do there, some revolution to do in this sign, but still I think that it gives us kind of a more grounded outlook on those areas and fire energies that we had going on, really like like Jupiter also in Aries, so everything's gone quite grand maybe, and now it's time to think a bit like what are we really going to put the energy on and continue, and which things are worth and realistic to really maintain, like Taurus is doing, and I mean, the Tauruses are the most stubborn people of the zodiac. I would almost want to say, like, it's when they put their head onto something, it's not easy to turn that one. It's gonna be like Ferdinand. In case he doesn't sit on a bee, he is quite calm. But when he sits on a bee, it's gonna be like a totally different scenario. Yeah, so it's very. There are different sides of that sign, but I think like the moon in Taurus and the new moon at this season, when we also maybe wanted to connect more with nature and really doing maybe more like grounding really practically, like we're going out and we're making gardens, so we in some parts of the world, it's kind of another side of the coin of Aries. We had another type of energy, but also it feels a bit more like it's stable, it's comfortable to be here. It might be a bit lazy. We maybe have to force ourselves to get things going also a bit with that energy. At least as it looks in that chart, it does so much of Taurus.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point too about the inertia, the lazy, we may not want to hook up the bull to the plow, right? It's comfortable. We're smelling the flowers, we're there, and we are going to resist and be stubborn and not necessarily get the ball rolling. But once that ball is rolling, we don't want it to stop either. And I think that can confuse a lot of people because, with the Taurus energy, or people with a lot of Taurus energy within them, that's often what comes across is, you didn't want to do something. You were adamant that you weren't going to do this. And now that you're doing it, you're adamant that you're not going to stop. But it's that once we are in a particular mode of being, of doing, that's where we're going to stay. And yeah, I think if you look up stubborn in the dictionary, you're probably going to see a picture of the bull. So definite some beautiful gifts and some challenges for sure. All right. Well, let me pull up the chart and share that with everybody, so we can look at this stellium that Anne was referring to, and like how this is not just a lunation in Taurus, but it's a whole packed full stellium in Taurus. Give me 1 second to share. Yeah. So here we are. The sun and moon will, as I mentioned earlier, they'll be conjunct. That new moon will happen at 28 degrees and 25 minutes of Taurus. You may notice if you're watching us on YouTube, but for those who are listening, we also have in the signs of Taurus, Jupiter starting at 0 degrees, and then all the way through, we have the North Node, Mercury, Uranus in Taurus. So yeah, let's start unpacking the stellium, and then we'll see where else in the chart that takes us to.
Yeah, I already talked about Uranus. Like it's not that close to the moon right now, but it's still in the pack, so it might throw some surprises in between. And of course, for people that have a Taurus in their chart, in the birth chart, Uranus is slowly and steadily going through those planets, and that might bring some new directions and new things into life. So it's reforming the sign of Taurus. And last time we talked about the eclipse that was in between Uranus and Mercury, that is now being stationed in the sign of Taurus. So it's out of the retrograde phase, but it's still like not working on normal speed. So we still have a bit of that. And the shadow, how long was that going to be?
Yeah, I think we're in the shadow, the post shadow of the Mercury retrograde until June 1st. So not too much longer, but we're still there. Yeah. Still feeling shadowy. And yeah, and I love the fact that there's that slowing down of Mercury while Uranus is still moving means that we have a little separation, right, between Mercury and Uranus is often called the higher vibration of Mercury. When the two of them are together, I just find that the whole rewiring of my brain is on like full steam. And it felt very much that way with this past eclipse / retrograde / conjunction of those two. So I don't know about you, but I've noticed I feel like I can actually find my words again. The brain and the mouth and the body are connected again.
Yeah, it's a bit better now, but the Mercury in Taurus retrograding has been a bit troublesome with this basic stuff, and yeah, so it's good that it's starting to turn direct right now.
Yeah. And it does go slow. It's not a planet that really enjoys the slowness, I believe. Mercury likes to be thick and go, and it likes to be in that realm of the mind. Its rulership of Gemini and Virgo kind of gives it that, like, let's think, let's go, let's move. And Taurus, I feel like, slows that down. It is, especially being on a new moon here, it's like a really good time for rest. And how do we rest not only our body, but how do you rest your mind? If you're trying to do, as we're always talking, if you're trying to plan and do and juggle 100 things, where do we find the space to rest our mind? I think is really good while Mercury's going through this post shadow, still bringing this Taurus energy. And that Uranus Mercury, it just makes me think about too, who are the people that you're talking to? Because whoops, sorry guys, I think you just got an old picture of me that popped up. I think that if I remember correctly, Uranus went into Taurus when we met. The three of us met during the UAC conference in 2018 in Chicago, and I think that was like, was that when Uranus was doing the dance, the retrograde dance of leaving Aries, entering Taurus, and yeah. So how long has it taken from the time that we met to forming a friendship to being online to deciding to start a podcast? Like, that's to me that idea of things are constantly moving forward, but at a very slow and steady pace. And, so that's, I feel like, what's happening with our communications, with our thinking, with our mind, with how we connect dots. It's that Mercury is taking it slow, and we're going to keep taking it slow. At least until next month.
Yeah.
Then there's also
that's a great story with that connection to the UAC and our meeting. Great to think about that.
It has felt very Taurian to me and beautiful, and it progressed at exactly the right speed that it needed to. But it is interesting, and there was once or twice when, if I recall. Sorry, Monica, you're not here, but to give your 2 cents about it. But I think I remember Monica like saying, "Hey, we should do this," and I was like, "Oh no, don't, Taurus, don't push me. I'm gonna go at my own pace. You let me get comfortable." So, yeah, it's been interesting to see the Taurian journey amongst us with this very slow, long transit of this outer planet. And then we got Jupiter just ingressed into Taurus, right? Guys may remember Jupiter's been in Aries. And you made an interesting point earlier that, it ingressed on the 16th, so just days before this eclipse, and it's going to stay in Taurus until May of next year. So we get a long, solid year of it, and that feels so Taurian, like this long period. I mean, and granted, Jupiter's usually about a year in a sign, but the last pair of signs, that Pisces and Aries, it was retrograding right on the cusp. So it was in Pisces, and then it went into Aries for a little bit, and then it retrograded back into the last degrees of Pisces, and then it came forward. So it felt broken up to me. It felt like I'm doing Aries work. Oh, now I'm stopping. I'm back into my Pisces work. Oh, I'm doing Aries work. Oh, now we're in Taurus. Yeah. It isn't quite the same as having... It feels very Taurian to have like a nice, long, steady, unbroken stretch of this transit. And here we are, at 0 degrees, 40 minutes. So just days after Jupiter has made this lovely ingress. And it has
it's going to meet.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I think I was going to say what you are. Go.
Yeah, it's going to meet up with the node. Is that what were going to say? Yeah.
Yeah, you pointed that out to me. I thought, how did I miss that? Yeah, so it's going to conjunct that north node. And I think we looked it up in the ephemeris, and it was approximately May 30th to June 3rd. So right around the corner, we're going to see this contact of the planet of expansion making contact to the node, and the nodes are at the tail end of their journey, right? Because since they move retrograde, they're at the tail end of their journey in the Scorpio Taurus axis. We're going to see them shift over the summer. So whatever the fixed work is, whatever the work is that we have been needing to do, that's part of our karmic sacred contract. Yeah, it's time to wrap that up, as they say. It's time to make sure that we've done it, and that whatever loose ends there are, I think this is the time to get that done. And one of those loose ends could be, what is it we're stepping onto? What is the journey that we are stepping onto after the last year and a half, 2 years of work, of the eclipses and the nodes being in this pair of signs? I think this is sort of here's the opportunity. To me, Jupiter, with all of its challenges of bringing the potential for excess, so the excessive procrastination and laziness and some of that negative side of Taurus could be really strong, but also here's the chance to bring opportunity about a person's life path. It's hitting the north node. Like, this is a time for us to step on or back on or take the next step on our journey in life. So it feels really, to me, exciting. It's time to hitch up that plow to those animals and get the wheels turning. Even if we start turning those wheels slowly, it's time to make that happen. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what that just under a week time period at the end of the month is going to bring forward for everybody.
Yeah, because it's in a fixed sign too, and because I feel that Taurus is very it's about making long-ranging plans. Then it's also, when Jupiter's there, it can also be quite important decisions that you make. There might be decisions that are quite solid also for the future, and it might be interesting that to see that there's it's also involved in that big T square. That's going to be the big square that we're going to have, the grand square, sorry. So it's like a bit fated. You get like a feeling that there's something fated, and because Jupiter takes about 12 years to circle around the chart, it can be good to check where Jupiter was 12 years ago and think about the themes in your life that happened around that time, because something of that can also be recurring right now when we are having Jupiter in Taurus. Like, how did you react to having Jupiter in Taurus? How does it feel for you? So you can get some kind of basics from checking that out. But still, it's a bit like fated. How do you feel about it?
I think so, exactly. It feels very fated. Like, I don't want to sound so dramatic, but I can't help it. It's like we all chose to incarnate on this physical world at this time for a reason, and now is that time. Now is the realization of maybe what that was about. It feels very fated, like the things that are happening in our world and in our personal lives, both at this time, are things we're meant to deal with, are things that we're meant to experience and impact. Right. And so we have the ability to create the world we want. It feels, we are the gardeners and we are the ones tending to the world. And I think whenever Jupiter or Saturn are involved, it's always a intersection between what's happening to you personally and what's happening to all of us collectively or in society. There's always that kind of overlap and weaving. So yeah, it's like we're entering the gates of what is to come. And we may not be in it, but you're walking through the gates, so you see it and you feel it, and we get to go at our own pace. No pushing here, but not pushing anyone. But it feels exciting and fated, and it feels challenging because, as you mentioned, in the midst of all this, we've got the nodes making squares to both the ancient and the modern ruler of Scorpio that the South Node is in. So you want to unpack that a little further, what you think about that?
Yeah, it's quite, I don't know really what I think about that. Well, Mars is going to ingress into Leo. So then we actually are going to experience this in fixed signs. So all the places, but Jupiter's also involved, of course, on the other side. But it's going to be a fixed grand cross, and like karmic astrology that I do, a fixed grand cross is about very old karmic stuff that we need to revisit, and also like it's a lot of tense energy, but it's also because it's fixed, it might feel like really that you can't move it, that you're kind of a bit locked in that situation. It can feel a bit like mission impossible, but it can also give you a lot of energy to do that mission impossible actually. So stubbornness to proceed with that plan that you're going to make, and even that it might seem a bit difficult to do or a lot of difficulty to do, then it's still the basic energy there is really powerful, I think. And even if we have a lot of the Taurus, and still, because there's so much in Taurus, I also feel that it's a bit like it's tipping over to Scorpio. It's also reflecting the polarity of Scorpio there. So even we only have the South Node, it's not only, we still have like Scorpio Taurus axis. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah. How does it make you feel?
Oh, I can talk about my feelings better about this aspect better than I can talk about what I think it means, because the feelings are so strong. Just as I am thrilled and excited and happy about all the Taurus energy, in spite of the challenges it brings, it makes, I feel very optimistic and hopeful. This is the other side of that pendulum. I feel dread. When I look at this aspect, it's like not necessarily dread of what is happening in my life or in the world. It's just I feel dread. It's like it brings up these deep-seated fear. And I think part of this is sort of for 2 years now, almost 2 years, not quite, with all the eclipses in the Scorpio Taurus axis with the nodes there's been a lot of, let me look at what scares me. Let me look at what is immobilizing. Let me think about, let me take on that mantle, that coat. Let me feel it for a while. Now let me take it off. Let me step back in. And we've been doing that dance of, I see how I'm not starting the business of my dreams because I'm afraid of quitting my job. And dealing with the reality of some of the dreams we want. Are they realistic? And is this the right time? And, juggling that the physical world of Taurus and what I'm afraid of letting go of with Scorpio. This feels like the moment of, we've already done the work. We've had the realization to some degree. We have sensed something needs to change, but I'm afraid to make that. I've had so many clients during this cycle talk about, I'm ready to move. I'm ready to take a new job. I'm ready to get married. I'm ready to get a divorce, like major life changes, but not doing it because they're afraid. Right? Ultimately, I mean, very, very legitimate reasons of why we have fear, but still it's the fear is blocking me from taking that step forward. This feels like that moment of, you have to do it. And sometimes we have to do it scared, as they say. So even though I have the dread that my life will never be the same again, and for some people, and in some scenarios, that could literally be the truth. And for some people in some scenarios, that's just how it feels. But I think that's how it feels. And I'm not a karmic astrologer, so I want your opinion on this. I'm questioning, does it feel that way because the actions we take now are releasing the karmic patterns of how we've done it before? So it does feel huge because it is a momentous moment of, if you step forward, if you actually hook up that wagon to that bull and you do the work and you go forward, you don't ever have to go back, or there is no going back. Those patterns are being released. And so it feels to me like some part of me is about to die off. Even if I don't want it, it still feels foreign and alien that it will no longer be part of me.
Absolutely, that's exactly what I meant. That's you just put the words on.
See, I've been listening to you. I'm starting to get it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's sometimes those big crosses, they might feel so much like they're coming from outside, that the things that are taking place are something that is not connected so much to me, but still it's so much about you and about very old things and very old patterns. And it might be hard to see it when you're inside it, when you're right there. But then I think like when we get some perspective on this period, we will also be able to see how much changed and how we could actually let go of old behavior patterns that might not even this life patterns, but many on the soul level. So yeah, it's and we still have Jupiter there. I mean, Jupiter is like we still have expansion. We still have like hope with Jupiter.
Yes.
In that Grand Cross.
Yes, definitely have the hope of what can be. And I think we also have the energy, because what hit me just like a little earlier this morning before we were on, because like I said, I kept looking at this aspect going, how do I give words to it? I can't find the words. I just have this emotion. And then what occurred to me was what's really different from what we've been dealing with previously the last couple years is the Leo energy. We've been talking about, we had Saturn transiting through Aquarius. I mean, since 2020, we've talked about Aquarius with the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction. We've talked about the squares to Aquarius, the fixed T-squares, as we've had the nodes in Scorpio and Taurus, and we've had things in Aquarius. And, we kept coming back to the theme of these three signs over and over. We haven't talked that often about the Leo. There hasn't been a transit that often in those scenarios where we really were focusing on the Leo. So the day after the new moon on the 20th is when I believe Mars goes into Leo. And Mars is the fastest moving of this scenario, right? Mars, the nodes, Pluto. Obviously, it's not Pluto. So Mars is the fastest moving. Mars is the one bringing in the kind of new energy of a new sign. Mars to me is very associated with whatever's new. It wants to do, it wants to move. So I feel like perhaps this is also saying that whereas all the things that we have individually and collectively been processing have been heavy and have been slow and have taken a long time and were very big, this is the time to like take action about it. It needs to be now. If not now, when? If not me, then who? Kind of are the mantras that keep going around in my head. In fact, when I meditate on some of this as it's hitting my natal chart, what I keep getting is, well, it took you the last 3 years to kind of find your voice. Now it's time to use it. Get out there, apply it, use it. Very Mars energy. Let's take action. Let's get going. So I almost feel like this could be saying that the Leo energy is what's coming in to kind of break up some of this energy and get us out of thinking about it, looking at it, wondering what would happen if, and actually taking the action, actually doing the thing we are afraid to do, and knowing that we have the energy and the resources to deal with the fallout. And yes, there's going to be fallout. It's got Pluto here, right? And Pluto's, it's interesting to me because this is all happening while Pluto is in its retrograde period, as if you will. We can argue orbs and whether it's stationed or retrograde, but it actually, Pluto's stationed in Aquarius. It just entered Aquarius, and then it's stationed at the last eclipse. And so it has moved less than a degree away from that, moving back. And so it's interesting that, to me, this is also a time where maybe there's some foreshadowing, because it's going to retrograde back. I think it's somewhere around June 11th. It's going to retrograde back into Capricorn. We're going to deal throughout the rest of this year with those residual, what do I need to build and how am I afraid of, climbing that mountain, or what do I do now that I'm at the top of that mountain kind of vibe. And next year, by February, it has already changed course and it will be back in. It re-enters Aquarius. So we kind of have this period from now to then to really see, this is we're at the gate and this is what I want to do. and how are we going to go forward with that? So yeah, I think I just totally went off on a side tangent there, but it's interesting to me that we're getting a taste now of what is to come, even though we may not be fully ready to step into it, but we're ready to take the first step across the threshold to get into it.
Absolutely, and we're really doing the final work with the nodes right now. We're closing it up, and this Grand Cross is just helping us to like intensify that ending, and with those both rulers, like Mars ruling Scorpio, Pluto ruling Scorpio, it's so symbolic that they're both there and on the opposite side, but there's a lot of tension also there. But still, next time that when Pluto's gonna go into Aquarius, it's gonna be with a different path with the nodes. It's not gonna be anymore with Scorpio and Taurus. It's gonna be Libra and Aries. So this is like the last time we have this scenario for a very long time.
That is really true, and that kind of makes it feel more momentous, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow. So that's a lot to work with in a 2-week time period.
Yeah.
And y'all thought that because we were done with eclipses, we could actually breathe. The personal development work never ends, and that's what I think I love the most about looking at the charts, is seeing the journey has more to offer.
Absolutely, and also with Saturn is also making a lot of supporting aspects to the stellium, so it's also like helping us to ground and to go to deeper with those roots.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else on the chart that you think we need to dive into before we move forward?
I think that's a lot. I think that's enough to work with for many lifetimes, actually.
I think so too. I think so too. Then let's go into tips and tricks. And if you don't mind, I'd like to jump in and start off, because mine is actually about something we alluded to but didn't say outright, and that's the fact that Mercury, who's finally starting to take a few steps forward into Taurus in her post-shadow period, she's making a beautiful sextile to Saturn. It's exact. Saturn's at 6 Pisces, Mercury's at 6 of Taurus. It's partile, it's lovely. And I think for me, this is an energy that's been really helpful and is going to remain to be helpful. And it's something about, make the list, talk to friends, find the sounding board, however you want to work with your Mercury, to start making the list of what are the action steps I need to take, bringing that Saturn energy in of what are the steps I need to take to attain the vision, instead of feeling like it's an insurmountable mountain that I cannot climb. How about we shift that into a more, okay, I have mastered certain skills, and now what can I do? What can I use? How can I take the next step? And after that, what's the next step? And kind of chunk it out. Take those big, beautiful, visionary dreams that it's so easy for us to convince ourselves, well, that's unrealistic, or that just can't happen. Well, what if it could? Embrace some of this receptive energy, because what I love is when you have the sextile in earth and water, we're receiving, we're pulling in. So you may get the message from a friend, a voice of a friend. You may get the message from a sign that you see from spirit. You may get the message in your dreams of, oh, these are the things that need to happen to fill in, what are the missing jigsaw pieces? What are the pieces I have? And it doesn't have to be an action plan. This is the dream it, vision it, let it be messy, let it be a flow chart, let it be a vision board, but find a way to start collecting and getting into our conscious mind these ideas of, these are the things that are next. These are the next steps as I'm entering this gate. So in whatever way feels right, doesn't feel pushy, feels comforting for you, I'd say start doing that. I'm in the process now of just getting clippings from magazines because I plan to do a vision board at some point soon. And so I'm like getting the clippings of what are the things, and it's helping me think about, and it's helping my unconscious mind of images and my conscious mind of words kind of bridge that gap and start talking to each other.
No, that's really great tip. I feel also that collecting stuff with Taurus, with the Sun of Taurus, really like, and in a so practical way.
Yeah.
I would like to give a tip, like to look at the own Jupiter cycle and to do a bit of research on that one, because it's 12 years long. And I think with planetary cycles, we always get the transit or the moving planet, even if it's going back to the same place at the chart, it's not the same the next time. I mean, we're always moving like the mountain story. We're always moving a bit up on the road, and we're a bit higher every time when we have the same transit. So just look back, like what happened in your life 12 years ago and what happened in your life 24 years ago, and how can you see the similarities? Because I think it's fascinating how astrology is like predicting backwards with going back and looking what happened, and how can you use that knowledge right now when we're going to have the Jupiter ingress into Taurus. What ideas does it give you, and memories does it bring? Oh, that's my tip.
I love it. You're right. Looking at the cycles, I mean, that's the real gift deep within astrology, is seeing the patterns and seeing the cycles. And I made a note. I'm going to go back and remind myself of when those Jupiter transits were happening and what was going on in my world. Yeah. Good. All right. Well, there's a lot to work with. So as always, pick the things that speak to you. Tell us in the comments below what resonates for you, or maybe what doesn't resonate for you. Let's get some discussion going. And we'll be back in 2 weeks to talk about the full moon that'll be happening on June 4th.
Thank you for watching.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us in this week's AstroChat. We hope that you enjoyed the discussion and would love to hear about anything that resonated with you. Keep the conversation going by posting shareable content on our Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube pages. You can also email us at astrochatpodcast@gmail.com. AstroChat is uploaded every 2 weeks on the Saturday before each new and full moon. Look for us on your favorite podcast platform as well as on YouTube. You can support AstroChat and receive exclusive content by donating on our Patreon page. We look forward to chatting with you all again at the next lunation of the moon.